Hi everyone! So, Onision is up to his anti-feminist rants again, and even though he talks a lot about American issues, and I am not American, he always aims his videos at anti-feminists in general, and he talks about feminism in the West, and I'm an anti-feminist. I live in the West, so I take that they are meant for me too. So I thought we could take a look at a couple of his latest anti-feminist rants and maybe give some thoughts on them. So let's see what he's got.
Feminism isn't needed in the Western world. Or so that's what a lot of you fucking idiots keep saying. If you are an anti-feminist, you might want to click away from this video, because you are about to get fucking decimated.
Okay, ready to be decimated. Go ahead.
Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Keyword, equality.
Ah, you're going with the dictionary definition. I didn't see that coming. That's so refreshing, so new, so innovative. You're a fucking genius.
The reason I have to point this out is because people say stupid shit like egalitarianism is better than feminism, even though it's basically the same thing. They both call for equal rights. But for some fucking reason, despite the fact that they're basically the same thing, you guys can't get over the fact that it starts out with fem, as in female. The word defined starts with fem. For some fucking reason, your brain just turns off after that point.
So, if egalitarianism and feminism are basically the same thing, why do you insist on calling yourself a feminist? Why not just call yourself an egalitarian and be done with it? You wouldn't even have to have this discussion. And as a matter of fact, why don't all feminists start calling themselves egalitarians? There wouldn't be this fuss and argument anymore. There would be peace between the egalitarians, MRAs, and feminists. They would all be just this one happy bunch. Or maybe it's actually you who's hung up on words.
Here's someone saying the literal definition of feminism doesn't have meaning. And here's where you get fucking wrecked. This is the definition, and the main argument people have against it is that feminists do not follow this definition. So I ran a fucking poll, and over 1,000 people voted. 69% of feminists believe that women are equal to men. So the mass majority of feminists follow the fucking definition of feminism, and your main argument against feminism is that feminists don't fit the definition.
This is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Let's imagine I did a poll on, say, KKK members, and I asked them, do you think you are hate-filled bigots? And every single one of them said no, of course. Would it be reasonable for me to come to the conclusion that the KKK, they aren't hate-filled bigots because they swear they are not? And this is so purpose-seeking, like, he's even made sure he would get at least somewhat decent numbers by adding this line in the end of his post. This is to prove a point to idiots. So he makes sure that these people who are replying no, that he's using this for a video, that they should answer correctly. So he's making sure they're absolutely biased. And even still, he hasn't got that good numbers. Like only 70% of the people answering have said women and men are equal. Like, if you took a random sample from the population of any Western country, you would get better numbers than that. And there's one thing that especially proves how absolutely invalid this entire poll of his is. 15% of the people answering say women are inferior to men. And he says this poll is for feminists only. Okay, so if it were only feminists who actually answered this poll, that this was in any way reliable, would we have a single person say that women are inferior to men? Keep in mind, these are supposed to be feminists answering this, and he still has the guts to use this in his video, like he's absolutely oblivious. This is just fucking hilarious.
You see feminazis, which are extremists, and your fucktard brain mixes that up with regular feminists. That's on your inferior intelligence. It has nothing to do with actual reality. Your problem is you prioritize your closed-minded personal experiences over the fucking truth. If the literal facts don't match your personal experiences, you fucking ignore them. And that is why in this moment you should be humiliated for ever standing against feminists, the mass majority of which have literally been supporting exactly the fucking message I've been arguing all this time. And because I know you're so fucking stupid, even now that you've been proven wrong, you still won't admit your defeat in the fucking comments. Because that's the type of fucking person you are. You're a fucking scumbag liar who doesn't care about the truth, only their personal agenda, against a group of people they don't even fucking understand.
And this is how Onision rocks feminism. Like, calling women who just disagree with him scumbag liars. Because that, simply for the reason that they don't agree with his male perspective on things. He's really acing this feminism thing.
You say feminism is not needed in the Western world. This is one explanation of what the Western world is, and here's a map if that wasn't clear enough. We're talking Australia, Canada, United States, UK, etc. Speaking of the UK, according to this, women still cannot serve on the front lines. That is not equality, and that calls for feminism. Apparently, some people have tried to oppress women by implying men should pay less for healthcare than women.
Okay, so UK women, they don't get to experience terrible deaths and terrible injuries in the battlefield. It's guys who get to have all that fun, and women, they just have to stay at home while the guys doing the hard work and fighting. And if Onision read a bit further on his own quote about the health insurance payment, he would notice that it's not about some random misogyny. There's a good point behind this. Fox News medical expert Dr. David Samadi claims that forcing men and women to pay equally for health insurance is unfair. He cites things such as the fact that women generally outlive men and visit the doctor more often for preventative health. So, women use more services than men, and it's actually supported by statistics even here in Finland. Like here, men create about 60% of the tax revenue needed to keep up our public healthcare system, but women use 60% of the resources. So men pay for 60%, but they only get 40%. So there's a point behind that. It's not just, oh, let's make women pay more because vaginas.
Another example of why we in the Western fucking world need feminism. The US women's soccer team gets paid disgustingly less than the US male soccer team. And this is exceptionally odd because according to this article, their most recent World Cup was the most watched soccer game in American television history. And if they're getting more views, they should at least get equal fucking pay. This is why we need feminism in the Western fucking world.
You moron. Athletes aren't being paid for views, they are being paid for the money they bring in. It's not as if these sports leagues, as if they have this huge stash of money somewhere and they just randomly decide how much to pay their athletes. They pay for their worth, how much they bring in sponsors and advertising. And men's sports, they just tend to draw in more sponsors and more valuable sponsors. So that's that. There's no misogyny going on. If the women brought in as much sponsors and advertisers, they would get the equal pay. But of course they are not going to pay them more than they bring in.
Apparently in Texas, maxi pads and tampons were being confiscated before people could enter a courthouse, but for some fucking reason people could still hold on to their goddamn guns. Are you fucking hearing me, anti-feminists? You are so fucking wrong, it's pathetic, and I hope at the very least embarrassing for you.
This is actually pretty funny too. Like, this is why we need feminism in the West. These women had to go a couple of hours without tampons. Again, call Malala. Maybe she cares about this. And of course, this was a case in which there was this abortion bill being discussed in this courthouse, and the security didn't want people throwing stuff to stage a protest. So they confiscated everything that could be thrown, and of course that included tampons and maxi pads because they didn't want feminists staging some protest there. But guns are a completely different thing because those are regulated by law. They can't take those away. If you have a license, it's the law. So it's not some random misogyny thing. It's simply about security and having a peaceful meeting.
Another marvelous point. As far as health insurance goes, a ridiculous amount of people object to women getting drugs related to the reproductive system, and yet when men want drugs related to the reproductive system, it's completely fucking fine. Individuals literally protest against things like birth control being covered by insurance, but not vasectomies and penile implants. Yes, anti-feminists, there is no need for feminists in the Western world, is there? Despite the fucking obvious inequality.
This is not a case of misogyny. This is a case of religious people being religious. Like, what they are against is abortion. And men can't have abortions. So naturally all operations for men are off the table when discussing abortion. So it's the women's stuff they talk about. And they are not against all birth control. They are against birth control they consider abortifacient, so that for example, the birth control pills can cause a fertilized egg to abort, which is a very rare circumstance, but religious people, they are like that. And what's the big deal, honestly? Like, birth control pills, they cost like $5 and people can, even in America, they can have it for free in some Planned Parenthood clinic. So what's the big deal? I don't understand. Why is it so important to have your employer pay for your sex life? that really struck me as odd. And this is one of those Call Malala things. Like, if this is one of the biggest worries of women, you can put on your list. Women can't be in that much trouble. They must be all fine and dandy. And this entire bare chest thing. Like, this must be some plot by men who just want to see more boobs. Like, I can't imagine any sane women wanting to walk around bare-chested. And then these men who plot this, they try to egg feminists on, like, this is the course you should take. Yeah, you really should be for bare chest. Get out of those oppressive bikini tops.
In this country, we allow rapists to sue for custody. And as you may know, the majority of rapes are committed by men against women. This is an example of a rapist being able to sue the fucking victim. And this is why we need fucking feminism in the Western fucking world.
It's funny that he should pick up the one thing about family planning that could be in any way used against women, because most of the time women have the upper hand in these matters. Like, women can opt out of parenthood. They can have an abortion, but guys they don't have that choice. If they get a woman pregnant and the woman decides to give birth, then they are shackled for life. They have to pay for child support for the next 18 years. There's no choice for them. And the family courts, they tend to favor the mothers. Like, if there's a custody battle, they always see the mother as the primary caregiver, and even bad mothers have an easier time getting custody than good fathers. And fathers' rights are often being trampled when it comes to these divorced couples who share custody. Dads don't get to see their children as much as they should. They are basically at the mercy of their ex-wife. And there are so many of these things in which women have the upper hand and they get to use this unfair benefit. And naturally, Onision isn't talking about them. He's picking up this one particular thing that sounds bad. And he uses that. He refuses to look at the big picture here.
The definition of slut itself specifically states that only a woman can be considered a slut. You know goddamn well that in our Western society, if a man sleeps around with women, he is far better treated than when a woman sleeps around with many men. You know for a fact this is fucking true. And this is why we need feminism in the fucking Western world.
Yeah. So what? Like, they have names for men they don't have for women, like cuckold? So what? And that's a slut-shaming thing. It's not misogyny, it's biology. Because women are the ones who carry children and give birth to them, it has been evolutionarily wise for men to choose a woman who is as monogamous and as reliable as possible. Because then there is a smaller chance of the woman cheating and having the man support someone else's child without knowing it. So of course, women being monogamous is being respected more, and it's in higher demand. If the roles were opposite, like if men were the ones who carried the children, then it would be men who people expected monogamous relationships and loyalty from. That's just biology. It has nothing to do with misogyny.
You know that tradition in our society where a man is expected to ask the father for permission or his blessing to marry his fucking daughter? And then the other tradition where the father has to walk the daughter down the aisle and hand his daughter off to the man she's going to marry? You don't ask the mom for permission. Why? Why is it portrayed as if the father owns his fucking daughter? This is why we need fucking feminism in the modern world. Because even our marital traditions are fucking sexist against women.
Like, this is a perfect example of what Devon Tracy was talking about in his new video when he mentioned that social justice warriors don't seem to understand linear time, that they don't understand the difference between past and now. And we have this cute tradition. People think it's adorable, people think it's romantic. Nobody believes that girls are the property of their fathers or husbands. It's just cute, it's romantic, it's old-fashioned, so people like it. But because some point at history, it was misogynist, we need feminism now. Like, where's the connection between those two things? It was history, now it's a cute tradition. That's it.
This is how religion is divided up in the United States. You notice a consistency? The most popular religions in the United States have specific texts blatantly oppressing women. In the Bible, it specifically states that women were created for men, and they say this fucked up shit. The head of every man is Christ, the head of every woman is the man. Let the women learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man. The Bible, the majority of Americans in the Western world, yet again telling women to shut the fuck up. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, then the man shall give unto the damsel fathers 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. As you can see with other versions, it specifically states rape. So if a guy rapes a girl, she's forced to marry him. This is the book the majority of Americans in the Western world support, and this is why we fucking need feminism in the Western world.
Okay. Even though I really don't like Christians too much, I have a challenge for Onision. Give me one example of Christians believing in this. Like, give me one example from Europe or United States in which a father has accepted the price of 50 shekels for his daughter's rape and then gave the daughter for marriage to the rapist. One case, that's enough. One case. You can write me in Facebook, you can write it in the comments, anything, or mention it in the video. One case, that's enough.
Now over 2,000 people have voted, and it looks like we're up to 73%. So I've proven that the majority of feminists believe in equality, despite your obvious dumbass saying they don't, and I've also provided many examples of why we still need fucking feminism in the Western world.
Oh my god, 73%! That's like almost what you'd get if you asked that question from the general population. Like, I guarantee you, if I went to the street, ask Finnish people, do you think women and men are equal? Do you think women are inferior or superior? Like 90% at least of them would say they are equal. And Onision got 73%, even though his answers are supposed to be feminist. And he still has 14% of his feminists saying women are inferior to men. Like, Onision's friends, they must be the fucking shittiest feminists in the world.
So if you have any fucking decency, you can accept your defeat in the comments below, but I'm betting you won't, because you're a fucking disgraceful human being who likely cannot admit when you're wrong. So fuck you, you stupid piece of fucking shit!
And there we have it. The perfect male feminist Onision ending his video by attacking women with slurs just for disagreeing with him. He obviously thinks women should just take his word for it, accept everything he says as the truth when he tells women how to think and how to act. That's how good a feminist he is. But of course, these people, they have their own logic, they have their own norms, so who am I to judge? I'm basically an anti-feminist, so a sane person. I can't understand these people. Tune in for the second part tomorrow. Thank you for listening.